So Alex, we see a lot of interesting things taking place in the market today. Companies wanting to go global, looking at the way that they want to engage their customers. It's creating a lot of change in terms of how they think about their business, how they operate. The other implications beyond changes to the operating model would be how does it align legally, financially, and considerations from a tax perspective, correct?
That's a great point, Steve. I think when you think about operating model and its elements, whether it's organizational structure, business processes, and management control framework, all those have tax implications. And the complexity is increased significantly when you're talking about transactions across borders, right? So talking about operating models in the global context then also implicates differences between jurisdictions and how they treat either transactions or presence of people in their territories. And those are the kinds of things that the stakeholders expect to be addressed on the after-tax, not before-tax basis.
You're saying that there are tax consequences to the decisions they make around those operating
Absolutely. And I would say in every operating model transformation initiative, there's always tax angle that needs to be considered. A lot of times it's mitigating risk, which may, for example, arise as a result of structuring people presence across multiple jurisdictions and dealing with issues around permanent establishment, taxable presence, or transfer pricing. In other cases, there's an opportunity to be harvested, for example, in the form of different tax rules applying in different jurisdictions, or applying transfer pricing rules to properly study the amount of profit attributable to different elements of the operating model. And this is where this comprehensive after-tax type approach to structuring global operating models really can create tremendous value to the shareholders.
You've got, different territories with different tax rules, tax incentives, right?
That's correct.
And so is this what's referred to as value chain transformation?
That's right, Steve. So value chain transformation is PwC's approach to addressing these kinds of cross-jurisdictional business transformations, where we look at both from the business operating perspective, people perspective, systems perspective, financial perspective, and tax compliance perspective to make sure that the client receives a holistic solution and not just one-offs that then risk exposing them to the areas where there might be surprises. Take, for example, China. China has been a tremendous, obviously, area of focus for multinationals, both from the source of supply perspective as well as from the market perspective. As it relates to global sourcing initiatives, many companies are considering or actively pursuing procuring either raw materials or components of finished goods from China sources. In doing so, they would often set up or engage with third-party providers of sourcing or procurement services to essentially seek out suppliers, present them to the company, deal with issues of quality, commercial terms, and so forth. That kind of a structure often raises a question of, number one, how would the activity on the ground close to the suppliers be characterized from the legal and transfer pricing perspective? How should it be remunerated? What sort of a transfer pricing approach should be put in place to quantify the amount of profit that function deserves? And then how do you structure it in a way that, for example, avoids instances of multiple taxation of the same profits? For example, China wanting to tax that profit as well as either US or another jurisdiction. And those are the kinds of issues that almost always are present in those kinds of initiatives.
Boy, this has to be really welcomed in corporate America, because if I'm understanding you right, in this example, from a sourcing standpoint, there's got to be benefits in perhaps centralizing sourcing to be more efficient.
Absolutely.
That's one business case or one value proposition. And then you're saying from a tax standpoint, there could be benefits there as well.
That's a great point, Steve, because it's really two dimensions of the value proposition, right? There's an operational, commercial value proposition, and for example, seeking out better, cheaper, more effective sources of supply, and that has tax consequences. And so, to me, it's not necessarily dual objectives or conflicting objectives, but it's two sides of the same coin, and the ones that have to be dealt together. And this is where our value chain transformation approach comes in and helps companies to do just that.
Yeah.